On a tablet screen prompting to milkshakes, a blueprint of the city's most opulent hotel glowed. The ventilation system in the main hall connects directly to the stage. Arnold, the elder twin by 7 minutes, stated with the gravity of a seasoned general. At 6 years old, his small fingers moved across the screen with practiced ease. If we inject the super-rich powder here, he pointed to a pulsing red dot, it will disperse over the bride and groom in exactly 90 seconds. His brother, Brock, adjusted his glasses, a thoughtful frown on his identical face. Too messy. Mummy would disapprove of public skin irritation. He tapped a different icon, pulling up a media feed filled with photos of a smiling couple. Daniel James and Emily Richard. Our objective is to expose the bad woman, not give her a rash. We need to replace her sappy love montage with the videos on our secure server. We just need to find a way to access the main projector. Arnold sighed, conceding the point. Fine, but we agree on the primary mission. We can't let that woman marry our stupid daddy. He's not stupid, Brock corrected calmly, taking a sip of his strawberry milkshake. Just blind. And we still don't know for sure if he's our daddy. That's a secondary objective. Find Dad, save him from the bad woman who Marnie said hurt her. They clinked their glasses together, a silent pact sealed in a busy downtown cafe. 7 years of carefully constructed plans were about to detonate. Across the street, the synchronized hiss of hydraulic brakes announced the arrival of a sleek, black sedan. A single stiletto heel, sharp as a shard of obsidian, met the pavement first. Luna Richard, known to the world only as the enigmatic designer Ela, emerged from the car. She was a vision in a tailored cream pantsuit, a silhouette cutting a severe, elegant line against the city's chaotic backdrop. Large sunglasses masked her eyes, but not the cold resolve that tightened her jaw. She looked up at the towering hotel where her sister, Emily, was hours away from cementing her victory. 7 years, Luna thought, a bitter taste flooding her mouth. 7 years you've lived my life, wore my name, and planned to marry the man you helped steal from me. You think this wedding is your finish line? You're wrong. It's the start of you paying back every last thing you took. Her path forward was clear, her purpose unshakable, until a small, soft force collided with her leg. Mummy. The word was a ghost, a whisper from a life she was forced to bury. Luna froze, her entire body rigid. She looked down. A little girl, no older than 5, with tear-filled eyes and Daniel's distinct jawline, was clinging to her trousers. The child was clutching a delicate, empty porcelain teacup as if it were a lifeline. A chasm of raw, forgotten emotion cracked open in Luna's chest. For a dizzying second, the carefully constructed walls of Ela crumbled, leaving only Luna, the mother whose children had been ripped away. She knelt, her movements stiff. I'm not your mummy, little one, she said, a voice softer and more fragile than she'd intended. The girl, Daisy, sniffled, her grip not loosening. You look like her. The picture Daddy has. Her lip trembled. Stepmommy was mean. She said I had to go to my room for sneaking out. She made me hold the cup. A cold, familiar anger called in Luna's gut, chasing away the momentary grief. Emily. This had her sister's brand of petty cruelty written all over it, punishing a child for wanting to see her father before his wedding. Where are your parents? Luna asked, her voice regaining its steady, controlled tone. I'll help you find them. Daisy pointed a shaky finger toward the Grand Hotel entrance. Daddy's in there, with her. Luna's resolve hardened into something lethal. This was a complication, but also an opportunity. Taking the child's small, trusting hand in hers, she rose to her feet. All right, she said, the strategist taking over once more. Let's go find your daddy. She was walking back into the lion's den, leading a lamb who had no idea of the danger she was in or the one she had just found. Inside the James family mansion, where pre-wedding preparations were in full swing, the atmosphere was thick with tension. Emily Richard, resplendent in a silk robe, paced the length of a marble hallway, her phone pressed to her ear. "I don't care about the quarterly reports, Daniel. It's the day before our wedding. Your daughter has been an absolute menace, and you're not even here." A few feet away, Daisy stood perfectly still, her small body trembling as she balanced a teacup on her head. Tears streamed silently down her cheeks, but she didn't dare make a sound. Just then, Daniel James strode into the room, his powerful presence immediately commanding the space. He was tall and impeccably dressed, but a deep weariness shadowed his features. "Emily, I'm here now. Daddy." Daisy's face lit up. The teacup wobbled and she quickly snatched it before it could fall. She ran to him, burying her face in his legs. Daniel scooped her up, his expression softening as he held her. He looked from his crying daughter to Emily's furious face. "What's this about a teacup?" Before Emily could answer, Daisy spoke, her voice muffled against his suit. "It was my fault, Daddy. I was playing and almost broke it. Stepmommy was just teaching me to be careful." "I'm sorry," she recited the words that Emily had drilled into her, a desperate shield to prevent more trouble. Daniel sighed, kissing the top of his daughter's head. He saw Emily's strained smile and accepted the flimsy explanation. Too exhausted by corporate battles to wage one at home. As he turned to set Daisy down, his gaze drifted through the massive window overlooking the front drive. He saw a woman in a cream pantsuit leading a small child up the steps. He squinted. For a heartbeat, the world tilted. The woman's posture, the way she held her head, it was painfully familiar. A memory, faded and visceral, of a different woman, a different life, flickered in his mind. He shook his head, dismissing it. "It's just the stress. She looks nothing like Luna." Yet, the unsettling feeling lingered. "Daniel, darling," Emily's voice was pure honey, pulling him back. "You must be exhausted. Daisy, be a good girl and get Daddy his special water from the mini fridge in my dressing room." Daisy nodded eagerly, happy to be of service. As the child scurried off, Emily followed and knelt beside her at the small, mirrored fridge. She pointed to two identical-looking glass bottles of mineral water. "Give him this one," she whispered, tapping the bottle on the right. Her finger then moved to the one on the left. "And add just a little splash from this one. It's a special vitamin mix to help him relax. It's our little secret, okay?" Daisy, eager to please, nodded and did exactly as she was told. She returned to Daniel, proudly presenting him with a glass of water. "For you, Daddy," he smiled, ruffled her hair, and took a long drink. The water was cool, refreshing, but within moments, a subtle wave of dizziness washed over him. The edges of the room began to feel soft, his thoughts sluggish. He blinked, trying to clear his head, a flicker of confusion crossing his face. Across the room, Emily watched him, her expression a perfect mask of wifey concern. But in her eyes a cold, triumphant glint celebrated her silent, effortless control. The final piece of her plan was clicking into place. The air in Daniel James's penthouse office was sterile and still, a high-altitude silence broken only by the quiet hum of the city below. His assistant, Mark, stood rigidly by the mahogany desk. "Mr. James," he announced, his voice carefully neutral, "I have confirmation. Master Ela has agreed to the collaboration with Imperial Group. She has also accepted your invitation to the wedding tomorrow." Daniel nodded, a flicker of satisfaction crossing his severe features. Securing the world-renowned, elusive jewelry designer was a significant coup. Across from him, his fiancée, Emily Richards, stiffened. The name Ela was a poison dart. "Absolutely not," Emily snapped, her voice shrill in the hushed office. She slammed her palm on the desk, the sound echoing her fury. I'm the chief designer for this project. Why would we need her? This is my collection, my wedding, my moment. Daniel's gaze, cool and dismissive, settled on her. Illa's involvement will elevate the brand's international profile. Her presence at our wedding is a statement. This is business, Emily. Business. You're undermining me the day before we get married. I'm giving you an opportunity, he said, his tone leaving no room for argument. You can compete with her. If your designs are superior, they will be chosen. The decision is final. He turned back to his monitor. A clear dismissal. Emily's face contorted with a rage she couldn't voice. Compete. A cold dread washed over her. She knew she couldn't compete. Her entire career, her very identity as a designer, was built on a liar foundation of stolen sketchbooks belonging to her sister, Luna. The sister everyone thought was dead. A bitter resentment curdled in her stomach. Even from the grave, Luna was haunting her, threatening to take everything she had fought so ruthlessly to possess. The next morning, in a quiet corner of a sun-drenched cafe, Luna, cloaked in the elegant and confident persona of Ella, accepted a small USB drive from a man named Charles. Her face was serene, but her eyes were sharp, scanning the street. It's all there, Charles said, his voice low. Everything you asked for. But you need to be careful. Daniel's security team flagged your system probe last night. They're good. They know someone breached their network, and they've traced the signal to this district. As if on cue, Luna's phone vibrated with a preset alert. A discreet app showed to black sedans rounding the corner. Their movements are coordinated for casual traffic. They were closing in. They're here, she stated, her voice calm. She slipped the USB into her clutch. The projection screen, once a canvas for cherished memories, now displayed the frozen, damning image of Emily in another man's embrace. A collective gasp had sucked the air from the grand ballroom, replaced now by a low, venomous hum of whispers. The string quartet had fallen silent, their bows hovering uselessly over their instruments. Chaos was a wave, held back only by the sheer force of Daniel James's stillness. His face was a mask of chiseled granite, his eyes glacial. He didn't look at Emily, who was frantically tugging at his custom-tailored jacket. Her pleas a desperate, pathetic whine. Daniel, it's fake. It has to be fake. She did this. Luna did this to ruin us. Daniel's movement was lethally calm. He raised a hand, not to strike or comfort, but to signal the head of his security. Shut it down, he commanded, his voice a low rumble that cut through the noise. Escort everyone out. He finally turned to Emily, peeling her fingers from his arm as if touching something contaminated. The wedding, he stated, each word a shard of ice, is off, as Emily's face crumpled into a mask of theatrical despair. A small, clear voice pierced the tension. Daddy, the word, so simple and yet so catastrophic, drew every eye. Standing near the edge of the stage was Arnold, his small frame rigid with a solemnity far beyond his years. His twin, Brock, stood beside Luna, but Arnold had stepped forward, his gaze fixed unwavering on Daniel. Daniel froze. The boy's face, it was like looking at a photograph of himself as a child. The same determined set of his jaw, the same intense, dark eyes. His gaze snapped from the board to the woman standing behind him, the designer Ella, who was now so clearly, so painfully, Luna. 7 years collapsed in an instant. A whirlwind of fragmented memories assaulted him. A shared laugh in a small apartment, the scent of her hair, a promise whispered in the dark. It was a life he'd been convinced was a lie, a fabrication. But this child, this living, breathing proof, was no lie. Betrayal, hot and suffocating, washed over him, not from Luna, but from Emily, from everyone who had helped her erase the past. Before he could process the cataclysmic shift in his reality, another cry ripped through the air. A commotion erupted near the Richards family table. Daisy, her face streaked with real tears, was being rushed forward by a panicked-looking relative. Her little arm was an angry, blotchy red, the skin puckered as if scalded. "Daddy, don't leave Mummy," she wailed, stumbling toward him. "Please, don't go." The sight of the child's raw pain was a physical blow. Just moments before, Emily had tearfully coached her daughter in the powder room, her voice a poisonous whisper. "Mummy needs you to be a very brave girl. If you show Daddy how much you're hurting, how much you need him, he'll stay. He won't leave us." She had guided the kettle, her hand over Daisy's, tilting the scalding water just so. Daisy, believing her sacrifice was the key to holding her family together, had bitten her lip and endured it, a small face contorted in a silent scream only her mother saw. Now, that pain was Daniel's to witness. His rage at Emily warred violently with a fierce, primal need to protect this child. He knelt, his movement stiff, and gently took Daisy's arm, his touch surprisingly tender. His heart twisted. He was being manipulated. He knew it on some level, but the bait was a child suffering. He looked up, his gaze sweeping past Emily's pleading face to lock with Luna's. Her expression was a storm of fury and pity-fury at him, at Emily, and a deep, aching pity for the child caught in the crossfire. In that moment, a cold, drastic decision crystallized in his mind. He would seize control. Rising to his full height, he cradled a sobbing Daisy against his chest. His voice was flat, stripped of all emotion, an edict delivered from a throne of ice. He spoke not to his family, or the remaining guests, but directly to Luna. "You started this," he said, the accusation hanging heavy in the air. "You brought this chaos to my door." He adjusted Daisy in his arms, the child's small whimpers a constant, heart-wrenching sound. "I'm taking Daisy home with me. And you." He pinned Luna with a look that was both a command and a challenge. "Will come to the James mansion. You will be her nanny." Luna stared at him, incredulous. A bitter laugh almost escaped her lips. Nanny, after he had allowed her sister to steal her life, her children, her identity. He wanted to relegate her to the role of a servant in his gilded cage. The sheer arrogance of it was breathtaking. Every instinct screamed for her to refuse, to unleash the fury that had been simmering for 7 long years. But then she looked at Arnold and Brock, her 2 brave soldiers. She saw the calculating gleam in Arnold's eye, a reflection of her own. This wasn't a punishment. It was an infiltration. Proximity was power. It would place her inside the fortress, close to Daniel, close to Daisy, and in a prime position to dismantle Emily's world from the inside out. Her rage cooled, replaced by a chillingly clear strategic purpose. "Fine," she clipped out, her voice as cold as his. Hours later, the stark reality of her decision settled around her. The James family mansion was less a home than a museum, all cold marble, cavernous ceilings, and portraits of stern-faced ancestors who seemed to judge her from their gilt frames. She was escorted not to a guest suite, but to a small, sterile room in the staff wing. The jarring transition from Ela, the celebrated international designer, to Luna, the live-in nanny, was a humiliation she filed away as fuel for the fire. She was unpacking the single bag she'd been allowed to bring when the door to her room was thrown open. Emily stood there, her couture wedding gown now rumpled and stained, her face a ravaged mask of disbelief and pure hatred. "You," she hissed, her voice trembling with venom. "A nanny, in this house. After everything you've done, you have the audacity to..." Luna simply turned from her suitcase, A slow, deliberate movement. She met her sister's frantic gaze with an unnerving calm. The terrified, broken girl Emily remembered was gone, replaced by a woman forged in fire. A faint, knowing smile touched Luna's lips. "I live here now, sister," she said, her voice soft but laced with steel. "Get used to it." The sterile scent of antiseptic hit Luna the moment she pushed through the hospital's double doors. A smell that transported her back 7 years to a haze of fire and loss. Arnold's call had been clipped, his voice tight with an urgency that belied his age. "Mommy, it's Daisy." Emily heard her. Now, guided by a nurse, she found the room, her heart a frantic drum against her ribs. Inside, a small figure was curled on the bed, a whimper escaping her lips. Daisy, her arm, from wrist to elbow, was swathed in white gauze, but the angry red peeking at the edges told a story of deep, searing pain. Luna's breath caught. This child, who looked so much like a ghost of her own past, was suffering. She approached quietly, her designer heels silent on the linoleum. "Hello, little one," she whispered, her voice a soft bomb. She pulled a small, brightly wrapped candy from her purse. "My son gets scared at the doctor, too. He says this is a magic candy. It makes the hurt go away." Daisy's tear-filled eyes, the color of warm honey, met hers. She took the candy with her good hand. "She did it," the child whispered, her voice trembling. "Aunt Emily, she held the iron. She said I was a bad girl for spilling juice on her dress. She made me do it to myself." The confession landed like a physical blow, stealing the air from Luna's lungs. Raw, unadulterated fury called in her stomach as she moved to straighten the girl's blanket. Eyes snagged on the medical chart clipped to the foot of the bed. A series of letters jumped out at her, stark and clinical. Blood type of Rh negative. The world tilted. It was her blood type, a rare type she was told she passed down. And Daisy's age 6 years old, the same age her daughter would have been. A dizzying, impossible hope flared in Luna's chest. So fierce it was painful. This couldn't be a coincidence. It felt like destiny, a cruel and beautiful secret finally clawing its way into the light. Her maternal instinct, a phantom limb for 7 years, roared to life. This was her child, she knew it. Stepping into the hallway, her hands shaking, Luna dialed her apprentice. "Leo, I need a favor." Utmost discretion. Her voice was low, steel-laced, her DNA test. "I'm sending you 2 samples a hair from a child and 1 from me. I need the results yesterday." Days later, the James family mansion felt like a gilded cage. Luna, under the guise of being Daisy's new, highly recommended nanny, moved through its silent, opulent halls. It was a strategic retreat into the heart of the enemy's territory. She'd overheard Daniel confronting Emily the day before, his voice a low growl of disbelief. "She's a child, Emily. How could she have burns that severe?" Emily's response was a masterclass in manipulation, a cascade of crocodile tears and feigned helplessness. "She's clumsy, Daniel. And she lies. She's always trying to get attention, to drive a wedge between us." Daniel had stormed off, not convinced, but not ready to face the ugly truth either. Now, Luna was caught in the crossfire, deftly parrying Emily's thinly veiled threats while observing Daniel's growing turmoil. One evening, while tucking Daisy into bed, she stepped onto the balcony for a breath of fresher air and a call to her trusted friend, Charles. "And Nanny, Ela, is this really the best way?" Charles's voice was thick with concern. "It's the only way, Charles," Luna replied, her gaze fixed on the sprawling, manicured gardens below. "I need to be close to Daisy and to Daniel. I have to see how much he knows, how much he's willing to see. This isn't just about revenge anymore. It's about my daughter, and my mother's company is still in Emily's hands." I'm taking it all back. She paused, sensing his unspoken question. And Charles, you're my dearest friend, my partner, nothing more. My heart is too full of war for anything else right now. A small tug on her sleeve made her turn. Arnold stood there, holding his tablet, his expression serious. Mommy, he said, pointing to a blinking dot on a map on his screen. I found him. I located Daddy's phone. Luna frowned. Daddy, Arnold, we've talked about this. The man from the wedding, Arnold clarify, his finger tracing a path. He's here. The signal says he's at Mummy's house. Luna's confusion mounted. Daniel was here. In the small, secure apartment she'd rented for herself and the boys. It made no sense. Before she could process the information, a shriek shattered the evening quiet. There you are, you witch! Emily and her mother, Diana, stormed onto the terrace, their faces contorted with rage. What are you doing here? Diana spat, her eyes venomous. First you ruin the wedding, now you slither into this house like a snake. I'm Daisy's nanny, Luna stated, her voice calm as she instinctively moved Arnold behind her. Nanny, Emily laughed, a harsh, ugly sound. You're a parasite, you've come to poison Daniel against me, haven't you? She lunged, grabbing Luna's arm. Diana joined in, her nails digging into Luna's other arm. Get out of this house, get out of our lives. Diana shrieked as they tried to drag her toward the stairs. Suddenly, Arnold's voice, clear and cold, cut through the air. Let go of my mother. He stepped forward, tablet in hand, and a photo of Diana at the poker table appeared on the screen, followed by a list of transactions. A crowd of staff, drawn by the commotion, had gathered at the edge of the terrace. Mrs. Richard, Arnold announced, his voice projecting with chilling clarity. Your gambling debts total over $2 million. You've been siphoning money from the Richard Group to cover your losses. Is that why you hate us? Because my mother is the rightful heir, and we're in your way. The crowd murmured, their gazes shifting from the furious women to the small, fearless boy. Diana, exposed and enraged, turned a terrifying shade of purple. She released Luna and pointed a trembling finger at her. You. She seethed, her voice dropping to a chilling hiss. I should have made sure you and those brats died in that fire 7 years ago. I should have finished the job myself. The confession hung in the air, monstrous and absolute. The gasps from the staff were audible. This was it. The truth, ugly and raw. Something within Luna snapped. The years of pain, of loss, of suppressed rage, erupted in a wave of pure, protective fury. With a speed that stunned them both, she twisted out of Emily's grasp and slapped Diana across the face. The crack echoed across the terrace. You took my child. Luna's voice was low, lethal. She stood tall, her eyes blazing with a fire more terrifying than the one Diana had set years ago. You tried to murder my sons. You think I'm still that weak girl you can push around? She shoved a stunned Emily back, sending her stumbling into a potted plant. You wanted a war. Congratulations, you have won.